there is a character that the entire Genshin Impact meta center around, and it is Bennett. I was gonna do some clickbait intro, but I'll save you the trouble. It is Bennett. He's really broken, and the entire Genshin Impact center around him. But why is that the case? How does Bennett changes the entire Genshin Impact meta? Now that's what we're gonna be covering today. As always though, if you are enjoying the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well as like and comment below. If we are able to get 100,000 subscribers before Anime Expo, I promise to wear a Menti Bay outfit during the Expo. Actually, I take that promise back, but you should subscribe to it anyway because it's free and help me out a lot. Anyway, let's get started. Now, to be honest, the reason why the entire Genshin Impact meta is centered around Bennett is simply because, well, he's the absolute strongest character in the entire game. In fact, this is how meta in every single game is gonna be developed. League of Legends, Fortnite, or even Minecraft. Pretty much every single game, it comes down to small amount of characters that are really strong, and the meta center around them. After all, meta stands for most effective tactic available, and using the strongest character available in the game is the most effective tactic for the most time. The amount of utility that Bennett can provide is just way too broken, easily providing over 1,000 attack, which effectively double or even triple the amount of overall damage output you have in your entire team, to him just healing a lot, which conveniently also fill the healer slot role for many of the team. To add on top, Bennett also apply a huge amount of pyro application. Not only his elemental skill applies strong pyro, it also have a really low cooldown at like a 2-second cooldown if you use it on his elemental burst, and at a 0-second cooldown if you use Bennett as well as the Thunder Fury artifact on him. In fact, that 0-second elemental skill cooldown interaction builds the comp known as 4TF Bennett today. And of course, as you generate energy every single time you cast your elemental skill, that low cooldown just also means Bennett generate one of the highest amount of energy in the game. Conveniently enough that even though a low cooldown skill usually only generate 1 energy, for some reason Bennett generate 2 energy. It doesn't really make sense, but he's just so broken. Bennett is one of the best the game, one of the best sub DPS in the game, one of the best buffer in the game, one of the best main DPS in the game, just one of the overall best character in the game. You get the point. Bennett is really broken. Pretty much every single Genshin Impact player would universally agree that this is just the most overloaded character in the entire game without debate, which is not what I'm here to cover today. I'm here to cover how does this affect the entire Genshin Impact meta. Once again, when it comes down to meta, which stands for most effective tactic available, you pretty much will be looking for the strongest character in the game. After all, putting the strongest character in your team is one of the most effective way to play the game. And so therefore, pretty much every single player will always start their team with Bennett, simply again because he's the most broken characters. And why would you not want to use the most broken character in the game? There's no reason not to. What truly matter and what Genshin Impact meta center around is the follow-up action. Now that you have established that you are gonna put Bennett into your party, the question becomes, well, what free character should I put into the Bennett party, and what 4 characters should I put it into the second party that does not require Bennett? And some of you might be seeing where this is going. What you're gonna do from this point on is obviously to draft character that synergize and work extremely well with Bennett, and then on the second half, you're gonna draft team or character that work really well together even without Bennett. And of course, the first one is of course gonna be everyone's favorite characters, Xiangling. Xiangling just work way too well with Bennett from the fact that they're both pyro characters, which means you can get the power resonance for 25% extra attack, to the part where Xiangling can snapshot Bennett elemental burst, which means you can retain that buff over the duration of your entire elemental burst, to the point where Xiangling's weakness is that she has really energy hungry elemental burst. But conveniently enough, Bennett also fixed that for her because of his low elemental skill cooldown, as well as the fact that he generates again 2 particles per elemental skill instead of just 1. Overall, there's no denying that Xiangling is just one of the best synergy in the game with Bennett, and therefore for the most player, they would choose to put Xiangling into the Bennett team as a second choice. There is a reason why this meme called when Genshin Impact players say their creative exists, and it's just all Bennett Xiangling, because it actually just works that well. When you come down to team drafting in Genshin Impact, your thought process is you're gonna put the strongest character in your team, Bennett, and then you're gonna put the character that worked the best with that characters in the team, which is Xiangling. And so you always end up drafting Bennett Xiangling as your first default option. Even though this meme is kind of funny because it's like all just Bennett Xiangling comp. And ironically speaking, pretty much each and every single one of these is actually a pretty good comp and will work really well. Coming back into this exact same screen, you ask yourself the exact same question, which is what is the next strongest available character that I can put into my team that also synergize really well with these two characters? And of course that is the Hydro's characters, because Hydro character can supply a lot of Hydro for Xiangling to do Vaporize reaction, which further boosts her damage by 1.5 times. So these are characters like Xingqiu's, Chayo, Ayato, or even Kokomi, kind of. But anyway, the point is, this is pretty much how the meta becomes developed, and this is also what known as the core of national team, the Bennett Xiangling Xingqiu's combo, because the entire Genshin Impact meta is centered upon something called the national team, and this is the core of the national team. But of course, we also have the last slot, which is usually nowadays it's a flex slot. You can put a lot of different characters in here. Raiden Shogun for boss fighting / single target, character like Kazu or Sucrose for AoE grouping, and Anemo VV Shred, as well as doing like double swirl tricks, or you can just put other characters. To be honest, you can even put Xiao just for fun. But the Genshin Impact meta didn't stop developing there, because, well, you need two teams to actually beat the Spiral Abyss content in the game, which means that even though we have the national team on the one side of the Abyss, we still need to draft a team for the second half of the Abyss. The next question becomes, well, given that I don't have these units available anymore because they are in my first team, what is the best available characters or team that do not require or is not dependent on these characters and also work really well together? And well, the answer is obviously the opposite of Pyro characters, Cryo characters, aka Freeze team. Freeze team just happen to be the secondary team that you need and just work really well without the use of Bennett Xiangling. The format of Freeze teams usually always go 2 Cryo characters, usually 1 main DPS and 1 sub DPS, and then you do a Hydro characters for the freeze reaction, and then finally a Anemo characters for the utility like CC grouping, VV Shred, damage gain, and so on. Optimally speaking, when you properly draft a freeze team, the freeze team and your national team can complement each other orthogonally, which means that they do not conflict with each other in terms of unit. They don't have to fight for a unit like Bennett or Xiangling because, well, they don't really care. Freeze team doesn't care to use Bennett or Xiangling as all 4 of their slot is occupied with really good characters like Ayaka, Ganyu, and Kazuya or Venti. That's not to mention that Ayaka and Ganyu, which are usually the main DPS of your Cryo freeze team, are really strong characters, which completely fulfill the question of what is the next strongest available character that does not require Bennett or Xiangling or so on. This just makes freeze team the best choice to complement your national team that you're gonna be playing on the other side, and this is how the Genshin Impact meta end up developing today, which is national freeze in every single iteration of the Spiral Abyss. And all of these start single-handedly by Bennett, the strongest character in the entire game. And that's how, ladies and gentlemen, Bennett, the strongest character in entire Genshin Impact, shaped the meta of Genshin Impact over the course of the game. Now, I want to make a quick final call that it doesn't mean you always have to play these kind of teams. It doesn't mean that these are the only team you are allowed to play. These are simply one of the most effective team combination to play, which I explained to you over the course of the video how it become like that. There is a lot of different team that you can still try out in Genshin Impact. For example, you can draft the national team on one side. However, on the other side, you can simply draft Geo team. Arguably though, Geo team is not as effective as just drafting a freeze team here, which is what meta mean, but it doesn't mean you're not allowed to play Geo team just because it is slightly less efficient than drafting a freeze team. Likewise, you don't even have to draft a national team in the first place. You're gonna just draft whatever the you want. You can just draft Geo team on first half, Taser team on the second half. In fact, the most popular 4 stars only double team setup actually does not follow this formula. It uses the reverse belt team on the first half and a Taser team on the second half instead of the national plus freeze team combination. And the reason is, of course, well, there is not enough 4-star Hydro unit in the game because the entire game only have a single Hydro 4-star unit. This one doesn't count. And when your freeze team plus national team combination require minimally 2 Hydro unit, you are gonna need at least a 5-star Hydro unit to complement your other team, and therefore it's not possible when you're doing a 4 stars only setup. And that is also why Hydro characters is so strong strong, and it's one of the strongest element in the entire game. Because if you want to play meta, aka one of the stronger team, then you are going to be required to pull for at least one of the 5-star Hydro characters, simply because again you're going to need 2 of them. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how Bennett, the most unlucky characters in the entire Genshin Impact series, actually became the strongest characters and shaping up the entire Genshin Impact meta. The question you might be asking is, what will it take to change the Genshin Impact meta from this point on? And well, a lot could happen. Either enemy could just straight up hard counter these teams, and so these tactics no longer work at all, or a brand new strongest characters come in that overtake and power creep Bennett, and so the entire meta become building around that characters instead of this characters. Will that happen? We don't know. Why don't you subscribe to find out when that happens? So with that being said, as always, thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comment below, and of course, as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.